Navy Matters.
All right, welcome back here to HMTV and the Fog of War and Humanity. We're on our third episode with Frank. So now, Frank, you come home, Pan American Airlines, you're a mechanic, right, for the aircraft. You take a little time, about 5 years, between when you leave the military to when you actually go back into the reserve.
Well, what actually happened, 7 years after I stopped going to the reserves, a buddy of mine at Pan Am, Charlie Amoroso, he goes, Frankie, why don't you come back in the reserves? He just joined the reserve. They're going to offer you E6, first class petty officer. I said, no, I tried it. He said, try it again. I said, all right, I'll try it again. So I joined the reserves again, and I put 30 years in the reserves after that.
So are you glad that your friend pushed you in that direction?
He's a brother,
yeah.
If you know what I mean. We're all brothers. He
Sure.
was an Air Force guy himself.
One thing about the reserves, and I know this from, I was out at Fort Taunton, not too far from where you grew up, and then West Hampton Beach. It's kind of like the United Nations of different military branches that come together.
Yes.
You know? And so now you're there. Where are you stationed?
At Floyd Bennett Field as an E6. And one of our commanding officers said, you know, I have so much talent here. And they closed the air station, so they weren't flying anymore. I have so much talent. Norfolk Naval Base needs mechanics down there to help them. He arranged for a Navy airlift twice a month out of Pan Am's maintenance hangar. Pan Am allowed it.
To fly you guys down? One on the way down and another on the way back? Or
Twice a month.
Wow.
Yeah. DC-9. And it was great. We were productive, and the regular Navy was appreciative of us coming with the talent that we had.
And you stayed up to date with the military aircraft, right?
Yes. And then I made E7, and then I made E8, and a lot had to do with I was deployed at an active base. You know, if I was just sitting around in a classroom.
Sure.
Yeah. And then
you kind of have officers taking note, your bosses taking note.
Yes.
Saying, let's keep this guy around, right? And,
yeah, it was great. And
you loved working with your hands.
Yes.
You loved the aircraft, right?
Yes.
I mean, this was like a passion for you.
Thanks to my 8th grade nun.
Yeah, the nun itself there, right? Good.
But, and then I made Chief Warrant Officer, W2.
And that shows that you know your job inside and out.
Oh, no doubt.
Because you're a specialist.
Yes, specialist.
And that rank dictates that.
Yes.
Because that's what you're doing.
But, you know, in the Navy, your records go before a board in D.C. It's not individual bases like, West Hampton, we'll say. Oh, we need 2 E7s. No, your name is competitive throughout the United States in your specialty. That's what made it special. Only 4 guys made Chief Warrant Officer 2 when I made it.
Wow.
And I was one of them. And then I made W3. And then I applied to become a Lieutenant JG, maintenance officer. And my records were in Washington. So I called Washington. I said, look, I know I need 2 years commissioned as a Chief Warrant Officer. I have 1 year, 11 months. He said, your records are going to go in a circular file. You need 2 years. So I said, okay. I didn't give him my name or my social. I put my package in, and I made it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you knew all kinds of rank. Yeah.
If you don't try, you never know.
And you come a long ways from the Navy where they're saying, all right, you're going to be doing the chow hall, right?
Yeah.
And then doing the laundry, right? So it comes full circle, right?
But, you know, I'll never forget. I was on, I think it was the Kennedy, and I was having my uniform cleaned. So I went down to the cleaners, and there was a young sailor there looking depressed that he's doing laundry. So I go, what's the matter, son? He said, this stinks. I said, son, look at me now. I was in your shoes.
Yeah.
I'm a lieutenant.
Sure. Just hang in there.
He perked right up, and it was good.
Kind of paying your dues also, right?
Yes, it's all part of it.
That's all part of it. So now you're juggling the military, the civilian, your family,
yes,
a home. You end up moving out to Hauppauge, right? Is
yes,
that when you end up going to Hauppauge?
In 1979, April.
Okay. So now, were you in the city before that, or were you somewhere else?
No,
where were you in
College Point?
College Point. So what made you go out to Hauppauge?
I loved Smithtown. I had friends that I worked with at Pan Am.
And they started moving further out east, right?
Yes, and they lived out that way. So they said, come out to my house. I loved Smithtown at the time. My wife, my wife had a Down syndrome brother. So when we were looking for a house, she had a mother that was up there in age. She says, I have to find a place. She lived in Corona.
Okay. So you knew you were going to have to probably most likely care, right?
She said, I have to find a place. What are you talking about? They're going to move in with us.
Sure.
We're going to get a big enough house and do that. Her brother was a great young man.
Yeah.
He was Down syndrome. I used to take him to different places, but he loved the Navy. He sailed with me on an aircraft carrier.
You must
on
love
the
that.
John F. Kennedy for 14 hours.
Wow.
I had him up on the flight deck and everything. Yeah.
When you look back, right, at the carriers, what's one of the distinct things that you could still smell or hear or see?
Yeah.
Is there any one thing that comes to your memory?
Yes.
The size of the ship or?
Well, a distinct smell was the exhaust from aircraft, even at Pan Am. I retired from American Airlines. After Pan Am folded, I went to American. And just the smell of the exhaust, being up on the flight deck, when they have 35 aircraft getting ready to launch, you always get that smell.
Now, what kind of aircraft did you work on between, was it Pan Am and American?
Yeah, DC-10s, 747s, Airbus.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to drive.
And was that
the Airbus.
LaGuardia or Kennedy?
Kennedy. All my career.
Kennedy's huge, right? It's
huge. But I used to drive the aircraft, Airbus, back and forth from the hangar to the terminal.
What, on the small little things or in the plane itself?
In the aircraft.
Wow.
Yeah, two guys. One guy operating the radios and the other guy driving.
Just amazing experiences.
That was
right?
the highlight of my career, to be honest, to drive a commercial jet.
Well, you were kind of part of it, though, right?
Yeah.
You kept those guys in the air and
yeah,
or out of there when they needed to be repaired, right?
Yes.
And you took on some huge responsibilities in terms of the Navy,
and that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
So it's my family flies in those aircraft too. I wanted them to be
friends
safe.
and
friends. Yes.
So all right. So now you go out to Hauppauge.
Yes.
What were the differences that you noticed from Hauppauge compared to the city?
The country, more of country.
It was like the other end of the world, right?
Yeah. I loved it.
And the Long Island Expressway, I think, only went to where, like Lake Ronkonkoma at that time, maybe, or exit 62.
No, it went out.
Did it go all the way out
to?
Yeah,
all good.
Did you miss the city at all, or
no?
It was just time to.
Yeah, time. My father remained there till he passed, and I would drive in there to see him, of course.
All right. So now, when do you get involved with the Suffolk County chapter of Vietnam Vets?
It's funny you should ask. I was looking to buy an American flag, and there was a flag place in Smithtown. So I went in there. Mr. Kitson was in there. I didn't know him. He came up to me.
Big burly guy, the big voice, right?
You look like a Vietnam vet. Are you? So I said, yes. Why don't you join our chapter? I did.
And just out of the blue, right?
Out of the blue.
Yeah.
The best thing I could have done, though. Rich has held us together.
What year was that?
That was 20 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So 2005. Was it 2005 or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm so appreciative that I ran into him because I'm on the board of directors. I'm the membership chair. and I'm involved with a Veterans Treatment Court in Central Islip. I volunteer there for 15 years now.
Now, how would you describe the court itself there? What does that do?
Veterans, especially these young veterans, men and women that get arrested for DWIs, domestic violence, rather than incarcerating them, they're sentenced to the VA or other places for treatment. We've helped. It's not just me. I have a team of veterans. We had all Vietnam vets when we started. 5 retired police officers, 3 from Suffolk, 2 from Nassau. Nothing better than that. Vietnam guys, too.
Wow.
And then we...
So it's rehabilitation, too.
Yes, right? Yes. And so here we are helping veterans.
And you have to have some good stories of guys and gals that turned their lives around. And,
yes. Well,
and you had something to do with that.
It's funny you mention that. At that parade in Southampton, just finished marching with a mentor with me. And a young fellow came up to me. Frank, do you remember me? So I said, no, I'm sorry. You saved my life. This is what he said. So I said, I was his mentor.
Wow.
He was my mentee.
Well, that goes to show you how many people you worked with.
Oh, my God. You know what that did? The fellow that was next to me, what I'm doing, I'm taking on younger veterans as mentors because we're getting older, the Vietnam guys. I don't want the program to go away.
Yeah.
You know?
And they'll fill in.
Yes, and they're doing great. Some of them went through the program. You know?
So they have a whole idea about it.
They have a whole idea, and they're great, believe me. And I have a female vet with me, Grace Mel.
Wow.
She was one of the first of 5 women to command a warship.
We got to get her down. Is she local? Or?
Yes.
So we got to get her down here, too.
How I met her, I was having my...
Tell her we'll get our little Branchinelli's, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we'll bring her in, right? So
yeah, I'll buy.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was in an auto repair shop in Smithtown, and she came in carrying a wheel assembly over her shoulder from a trailer.
Wow.
I'm sitting there, wow, my kind of girl. And I had a Vietnam veteran hat on or a Navy hat, a ball cap. And after she dealt with the owner, she comes over to me, sits next to me, and says, thank you for your service. So I said, oh, thanks. I'm retired Navy. And she said, so am I. And we were talking. And 3 months into the program, 15 years ago, we started having females come in. They didn't want to deal with a male mentor. So I called her. She's been with me 15 years.
Wow.
She had 400 Marines on her ship and 300 sailors, a combat ship.
Amazing.
She didn't go to the Naval Academy either. The Navy told them, you'll never take command of a ship. You didn't graduate from the academy. Guess what?
She did.
She did.
Yeah.
But she's great.
And sometimes when you tell somebody so blatant you can't do something, that motivates them, lights more of a fire, right? So.
Yeah. And what an asset to have her on board because she can mentor male and female.
So now you have these veterans, they get themselves into a little bit of trouble. You go actually in front of a judge.
Yes.
Right?
The judge that started it, the court in CI, Judge Jack Toomey, a combat Vietnam vet, machine gunner, 2 Bronze Stars for Valor. He was in Big Red 1.
Wow.
What a great guy.
Sure.
And I'm telling you.
Pretty historic unit, right?
Oh, big, even to this day. And then he retired. And Judge Cohallen, who is now a lieutenant colonel in the Army Reserve, nothing better than having a military judge understanding fair but stern.
Sure.
It's not a free ride.
No. But that's what makes the program work, too.
Yes.
Because you don't want the guys that get too comfortable.
Right. Oh,
so,
no, this piece of cake.
Yeah.
No. Because if you don't conform, you're going to jail.
Yeah, and they have to do that.
Yes.
So,
but, no, it's a great program. Eric Bruno, non-veteran, he works for the VA. He's the outreach coordinator for the court. What a great young man.
Wow.
And he sets up the programs. He has to screen each veteran and see what fits best for that veteran. We cumulatively...
Do you have a whole office at the VA? Would it be VA in Northport
No.
for that?
No.
You would almost need a whole office.
Well,
right, to do.
yeah, because you know what? A lot of the young men and women aren't aware that there is a veterans treatment court. And it's just what I said, a treatment court. It's not a punishing court.
And that goes back to sometimes with the government.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where there's so many things offered,
Yes.
but things are so big that you don't know that there's certain services out there.
Yes. But like I said, we've been doing CI for 15 years. And according to Eric, we've helped over 600 veterans get their lives
And it's still
together.
going on today? Wow.
Every 2 weeks, we meet in CI.
So now, when you guys meet and you go in front of the court,
Yes.
this is like a tough question because sometimes you don't know, but typically, what is the amount of former veterans, right, former armed forces members
Yes.
that could be going in front of a judge?
We have a roster, and we assign the mentors accordingly. I mentor Navy. Another Marine will mentor a
The Marine Corps, right?
Yes. We have a Navy SEAL with us too, Ron Pacquiana, who combat wounded also in Vietnam. And
Where's he from?
Quorum. Quorum. And yeah, if there's an Army veteran that had heavy combat, we'll assign Ron Pacquiana, a Navy SEAL, with him to...
Yeah, because he could understand
Yes,
where some of these
yes.
guys are coming for, girls are coming from.
Absolutely. So that's working great. But we also go to Hampton Base, a veterans treatment court. We've been going out there for 9 years.
You see a lot of drugs in terms of...
Drugs.
Because the drugs are getting worse.
Alcohol
too.
And whenever I meet a veteran coming into the court, let me back up a little bit. The DA is the gatekeeper for the court. He either blesses it and says, okay, we're going to let you get into veterans court. But if he feels the crimes are too severe,
Then it's a regular courtroom and
Right.
that's...
But what he does too, the assistant DA reaches out to me, for example, Frank, I have a veteran we're not sure of. Could you meet him in a diner or something? I get
Feel
some of
him
them
out,
feel
right?
him out. 10 times out of 10, we say,
And
good
you
to go.
can't... You got to be honest because you don't
Yes.
want that program to go...
Right.
You know, sometimes the chips go the other way for some people, right? So
But we speak to them sternly. We're going to approve you coming into the court. You better help yourself.
total line, right?
When a new veteran comes in, I always ask them, what were your charges? I'm going to find out anyway. And they tell you, you know. Well, I had a DWI, a lot of DWIs. So I look them in the eye. I say, do you have children? Are you married? Yes, I have 2 beautiful children, beautiful wife. Then I look them in the eye, and I tell them my niece was killed by a drunk driver when she was 26.
So it hits home then, yeah.
And then they go, oh, I'm sorry. I said, those words mean nothing to me.
Yeah.
Don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Years later, I have guys come up to me, Frank, I haven't had a drink. And I always tell them, they're in the program for a year. And it's not every week.
So now, do they have to go back to you guys, or do they have to go back in front of the court every so often?
Yes.
And it's almost like they're on probation, right? There's reports.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they have to sign a contract and plead guilty to that contract. And when they graduate, either a year later or 18 months later, the charges are normally
Is that
lowered.
exclusively done, the Veterans Court, through the Suffolk County chapter of Vietnam Vets? Or is there American Legions and VFWs?
Just the Vietnam vets.
Vietnam Vets.
Yeah, what happened when the court first started, they offered it to the VFW to be mentors, American Legion, and nobody stood up to the challenge. We did.
Can I ask you this?
Yes.
You had a lot of Vietnam vets that got treated horribly.
Yes.
Right? Never again will one generation of veterans abandon or forget another, right?
Yes.
And you had a lot of Vietnam vets end up getting in trouble with alcohol and drugs and different situations, right? They were like just forgotten about.
Yes.
Do you get some of those guys
Yes.
that when they were earlier on
Yes.
and they end up turning around their life and they
Yes.
kind of say, I was in your shoes at one time?
Yes. Yes. And even the Iraqi, Afghanistan vets, being that I'm taking on younger guys as mentors, they can
They could
relate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now what are some of the other things that because now you're retired,
Yes.
but you're still very active, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
It's the nature of the animal, right? You're always
Always on the move.
on the move, right?
Thank God I have a good wife.
Yeah.
She
Right.
understands.
And your family and everything, right?
Yes.
So now tomorrow, no, what's today? Today is Wednesday, right?
Yes.
On Friday, you're going to be going to the Long Island State Veterans Home.
Absolutely.
Now, what are you guys going to be doing there?
There's, I believe, 160 Vietnam vets now in that nursing home, permanently housed there.
And that's a major facility.
Major. And what Rich tries to do, Rich Kitson, break us up according to branch of service. And the veterans that are housed there permanently now. And I'll meet with the Navy guys because we have so much in common. We're all
Sure.
Vietnam guys, you know? Army to
Right,
Army,
right around the
Marines,
same
Marines.
age, same
Yes.
area, right?
Yeah. And so I'm very involved with that. So I'm always up there.
And you guys are given a check, right? To
Yes, to build a facility up there so that the veterans that wind up there can enjoy a good portion of that facility.
Wow.
And Fred is the best, and Jonathan, you know, they have our backs too.
the leadership.
The leadership, which sometimes you find it rare
Yeah.
in today's world.
They're there, just sometimes
Yes.
a little harder to come across. Right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And then you had a good story where I think you spoke in Hauppauge, right?
Yes.
And you asked a student
Thank you for reminding me.
what the name of the
Yeah.
local road was based off of, right?
Yes, yeah. We met with 8 junior classes individually for a day. I had Clarence. There were 7 of us.
And you had your green jackets on, right?
Green shirts. It was
Green
too
shirts
hot.
on.
But I started off, all right, how many of you know the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day? It was the week before Memorial Day. Nobody. I'm not blaming the kids. And then I look at the teachers. I'm not blaming them either. What about the parents? You know, a lot of them don't know. So we educated them. I asked them, who knows where the Gold Star parent is? Nobody. So Clarence is a Gold Star parent.
Sure.
I asked Ron Pacquiao, for example, he came. He passed around his Purple Heart. He was wounded.
What does this mean, right?
What does it mean? They get to hold it, you know? And then, like you had just mentioned, one of the fellas, the graduates from Hauppauge, there's several, that was killed in Iraq, a Marine. Lincoln Boulevard, right outside the school, he has a plaque underneath Lincoln Boulevard.
So his name?
His name, Lance Corporal Jared Krem. Nobody knew. So I said, when you leave school today, look at that sign. And Jared played football with my son. My son graduated from Hauppauge. He was on the football team too. So just trying to educate them. They were outstanding.
Yeah, especially for their own surroundings.
Yeah, they were outstanding. You could hear a pin drop when we spoke. I had everybody speak. And Clarence read that poem, Bury Me with Soldiers, because his son died.
Wow.
He was, I think, the 10th Mountain Division.
Now, is there any one thing that you guys are looking forward to doing down the road? Is there anything that's coming up? Or you're all very busy as it is, right?
Yes, yeah. Vets helping vets. That's our mission, you know. We have a great board, and I can't say enough.
And a lot of experience, too, in terms of
Tremendous amount.
helping build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Bald Hill.
Yes.
Long Island State Veterans Home, working
Yeah.
in schools, the Veterans Court.
Yes.
You have guys like, Mel with the Jewish War veterans.
I love Mel.
And
Yeah.
he's higher ranking not only on Long Island, but within New York State. So,
no,
I know Clarence years ago in terms of politics,
Clarence is the vice president of our chapter.
And you guys are very, very, well-rounded,
Yes, we're very fortunate that way. It's a brotherhood, a team effort, trying to help these younger kids, because once we're not around, we want to make sure.
Yeah, other groups are going to have to start stepping up as well.
Because like we talked about, when we came back from Vietnam, nobody helped us. I never even knew there was a VA. How I was discharged or separated, I was on the America over in Genoa, Italy. And Frank, there's a helicopter up on the flight deck waiting for you. Get your papers, get up there now. That was my exit interview.
Amazing, right?
Yeah, so I jumped up there. Half the papers went flying down the flight deck. I said, screw it.
And like the rights and services that you had.
We knew nothing.
You knew nothing?
Me. No.
And then a lot of you guys, like even with the VFWs, didn't even recognize until later
that's a good
on,
point,
right?
because several guys I know, Dave Sinclair, who was a LRP in Vietnam, long-range reconnaissance, he went to the VFW. And they told him, mostly World War II guys sitting around, you guys weren't in a real war. You really can't join our
it's unbelievable to say something like that with, 59,000
yes,
right, dead and mountain missing and everything else.
Yeah.
So, but Frank, thank you very much for coming down.
Thank you for inviting me.
We have one of the all-time gentlemen here from Suffolk County Chapter of Vietnam Vets, the Green Jackets. And, it's just amazing your story of service from being a young guy of College Point, Queens to, everything that you do today.
I just want to mention one thing. I was gassing up my car in Hauppauge, and a car pulls in behind me. Now I served in Vietnam sticker, and my license plate, the border, says, "Welcome home, Vietnam vets." So all of a sudden the car stops. A young lady gets out. There's a man driving. Vietnamese.
Wow.
She came up to me, hugged me, kissed me. Thank you for saving my life. Yeah.
Which is an amazing story, right?
I cried.
Not everyone wanted to stay over there.
No, I just couldn't believe it. She couldn't stop hugging me. I was only one when the war was going on. But I was saved by all the soldiers and sailors.
Wow.
I told that story at a general meeting to all the guys, and that's payday for us.
Yeah, and she had a stronger future within this country, too.
Yes.
Right?
She lives in Port Jeff.
Yeah.
I just couldn't thank me enough, bawling her eyes out, and then I started crying.
And it's amazing because those stories are out there.
And they need to be told.
And they're positive.
Yes.
So.
Yes, positive.
So, all right, again, here with Frank D'Aversa, one of the all-time gentlemen, like I had mentioned, and thank you for everything that you do for our veterans community. It's a pleasure having you here.
It's an honor. Thank you, Rich.
And welcome home.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you for your service, too.